Welcome to Deep Dive Discussion, where we explore the ideas, strategies, stories, and inspiration that really matter.
This program is produced by Ysh Estayo.
And this episode is sponsored by IntelliCoach. Okay, now let's dive in. You're here because you want to get straight to the heart of big ideas, right? Cut through the noise.
Exactly. No surface stuff. We go deep.
And today, we're tackling something really fundamental. We're going to challenge how you think about, well, strength and weakness.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
How we automatically look at the giants, the big companies, the powerful figures, and assume they've got all the advantages.
But what if that's wrong? Or at least not the full picture? What if being the underdog, the misfit, actually gives you, well, a hidden edge?
That's the core idea we're digging into, using Malcolm Gladwell's book, David and Goliath, Underdogs, Misfits, and the Art of Battling Giants, as our roadmap, you could say.
Yeah, and Gladwell, he doesn't just tell feel-good stories. He looks at research, history, finds these patterns where the little guy wins, but not by playing the Giants game.
Our mission here, really, is to pull out the practical stuff from Gladwell, give you a new lens to look at your own challenges, the power dynamics you see every day.
And maybe find some untapped potential, even in places you thought were, weaknesses. Expect some surprises.
Definitely counterintuitive stuff.
Okay, so let's start with the big one. David and Goliath itself. Gladwell's take is pretty radical, isn't it?
Completely. He argues David didn't win despite being the underdog. He won because of it.
Right. It wasn't luck. Goliath was this heavily armored, slow-moving infantryman, built for close combat.
Exactly. He expected a fight on his terms. But David was essentially artillery, a slinger. Fast, mobile, lethal at range.
Goliath's strength, his size, his armor was useless against that kind of attack. It makes you think, doesn't it? How often do we misread a situation because we only see the obvious strengths?
Absolutely. We focus on the conventional metrics of power.
So for you listening, think about times you felt like the underdog. Was there something about your situation, maybe a lack of resources or a different way of thinking that actually became an advantage? Something the Goliath in that situation just didn't see?
That reframing is key.
Yeah.
And it pops up again and again.
Yeah.
Like the story of Vivek Ranadive.
Oh, the basketball coach, the dad who knew nothing about basketball, really.
Right. He coaches his daughter's 12-year-old team. He doesn't know the rules of how you're supposed to play basketball.
No, he just has them play this insane full-court press. All game, every game. Total chaos.
Utter chaos. And it worked. They started beating teams with way more experience, more traditional skill, because the opponents just weren't prepared for that constant pressure. It broke their rhythm.
It's such a brilliant example of how not knowing the rules can let you rewrite the game. His ignorance was actually an advantage.
It makes you question the norms in your own world, doesn't it? Are there assumptions, these unwritten rules in your job, your field, that maybe aren't serving anyone? Could breaking them be the key?
Could that outsider thinking be the advantage?
Precisely. But then there's the flip side. Sometimes being in the most elite environment isn't actually the best thing. Gladwell talks about Caroline Sachs.
Ah, yes, the student who goes to the super prestigious university, Brown for science, and kind of drowns.
Exactly. She was brilliant, top of her class in high school. But at Brown, she's suddenly just average, maybe even below average compared to the absolute geniuses there. And it crushes her confidence. She drops out of science.
It suggests that maybe being a big fish in a slightly smaller pond is actually better for learning and growth than being a small fish in a giant, hyper-competitive ocean.
Context is everything, right? The prestige isn't the only factor. Maybe in a less intimidating environment, she would have thrived, gotten more attention, built that confidence.
It's a tough question to ask yourself, but is your current environment actually letting you shine? Or is it holding you back, even if it looks impressive on paper? Are you in the right pond?
A really important reflection. Now, thinking about the giants again, Gladwell also explores how overwhelming power can sometimes backfire.
You mean when authority becomes too heavy-handed? Oppressive?
Yeah. When it's seen as illegitimate or just fundamentally unfair, it stops being persuasive and just becomes brute force. And that, paradoxically, can weaken it. It breeds resistance.
Because people stop believing in its right to rule.
Exactly. You can force people to comply for a while, but underneath, resentment builds. True, sustainable power needs legitimacy, a sense of fairness. Force alone isn't enough.
You see that throughout history, don't you? Regimes that look all-powerful but crumble because they lost the people's, belief. Makes you think about times you've seen authority overplay its hand and lose respect, maybe in an organization or even just a small group.
hmm And this leads to another really interesting idea Gladwell brings up, desirable difficulties.
Right, the idea that some struggles, things we normally see as purely negative, can actually forge strengths.
Like dyslexia or facing serious adversity early in life. He tells the story of Emil Freireich.
Oh, the leukemia doctor. His childhood was incredibly tough, wasn't it?
Unbelievably so. But Gladwell argues that hardship gave him this incredible tenacity, this refusal to give up, that was crucial when he was tackling childhood leukemia, a disease everyone thought was hopeless.
And David Boies, the famous lawyer, dyslexic.
Yeah. And because reading was so difficult, he developed phenomenal listening skills and an incredible memory. He had to compensate, and those compensations became superpowers in the courtroom.
So this struggle wasn't just something to get past, it was actually the thing that created the unique strength.
Exactly. The obstacle was the way, in a sense. It challenges that whole idea of wanting a smooth, easy path.
It definitely makes you look back, doesn't it? Can you pinpoint challenges in your own life that maybe unexpectedly gave you a skill or perspective you wouldn't have otherwise?
And this ties into how underdogs can actually win strategically. They don't just fight harder, they fight smarter. They reframe the battle. Wyatt Walker during the Civil Rights Movement is a key example.
He knew they couldn't win a straight fight against the power of segregationists.
Right, so he didn't try to. Instead, he orchestrated confrontations, like in Birmingham, designed to provoke an overreaction from the authorities, to basically force the brutality out into the open for the whole world, especially the media, to see.
Using the opponent's strength, their willingness to use force against them, it was about shifting public opinion, creating moral outrage.
Precisely. But Gladwell contrasts this with Northern Ireland, Rosemary Lawler's story. There, the heavy-handedness of the British forces, the perceived injustice, actually ended up fueling the rebellion, strengthening the IRA's support in some communities.
So there's a fine line. Illegitimate force can backfire on the powerful.
The takeaway is that smart underdogs change the terms of the fight. They don't play by the giants' rules.
So for you listening, when you feel outmatched, how could you change the game? Not just push harder, but shift the battlefield, maybe use their expectations against them, provoke a different kind of response?
It's a powerful strategic question. And sometimes the most powerful force isn't physical at all. It's moral. Think about André Trocmé.
The pastor in Le Chambon, France, during World War II, sheltering Jews from the Nazis.
Yes. A whole village, really, led by him. They had no army, no real power in the conventional sense. They were facing the full might of the Nazi regime.
Yet they resisted, quietly, stubbornly.
Driven purely by their moral conviction, their belief that it was the right thing to do, regardless of the cost. It shows that moral courage can be an incredibly potent force, something that brute strength often struggles against.
What principles guide you when things get tough? What lines won't you cross, even under pressure?
It's a deep question. And related to that, there's the idea that surviving really difficult experiences, even trauma, can forge a different kind of strength.
Like facing your deepest fears makes other things seem less daunting.
Something like that. Gladwell suggests that people who've been through the worst can sometimes emerge with a kind of fearlessness, a resilience that's hard to comprehend if you haven't experienced it. It's not about not feeling fear, but about knowing you can move through it.
Learning your own capacity to endure. What have you learned about your own resilience when you've navigated tough times?
So, wrapping these threads together, what are the big takeaways?
Well, first, that perceived weaknesses can actually be strengths in disguise, like David's sling or Ranadivi's ignorance of basketball norms.
Second, underdogs often win by being unconventional, by breaking the rules, not by trying to be a smaller version of the giant.
Third, struggle isn't always bad. These desirable difficulties can build crucial skills in resilience. Think Boyes' dyslexia.
Right. Fourth, power has limits, especially power that's seen as unfair or illegitimate. It can undermine itself.
And finally, maybe the most important, reframing the battle is key. Don't fight on the giant's terms if you can change the game, like Wyatt Walker did.
And these insights, these aha moments, that's why you're here, right? To get that deeper understanding quickly. Gladwell really delivers these counterintuitive ways of looking at power and success.
Absolutely. And you can apply this stuff everywhere at work, in your personal life. Just understanding the news, it's a really valuable mental toolkit.
Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Don't forget to grab Ysh Estayo's latest book on Amazon.
And if you need business consulting, AI solutions, or help with book writing and publishing,
Ysh has your back. You can contact Ysh Estayo directly or just leave a comment.
Okay, so here's a final thought to leave you with, drawing from all this.
Think about the overwhelming odds you might feel you're facing right now. Could that very challenge, that perceived disadvantage, actually be the thing that forces you to innovate, to find your unique strength?
What if your weaknesses aren't weaknesses at all, but the key to seeing the game differently? And maybe, just maybe, the key to winning. Until next time, keep diving.